The rain had stopped falling when Daniel pushed open the door of the inn. His boots were heavy with mud from the long road, his clothes worn and his stomach hollow. Travelers filled the place with noise and smoke, but he had only one thought in mind: collecting what was owed to him. The innkeeper, a short, greasy man with shifting eyes, waved him over. "You did the job well," the man muttered. "The raiders won't be troubling our caravans anymore. But I have no coin to pay you." Daniel's jaw tightened. He had risked his life driving those raiders off, and the man dared to shrug him away like this. "Then how will you pay?" he asked, voice low and dangerous. The innkeeper smiled nervously and gestured toward the corner of the room. "Take her instead." Daniel turned, expecting a mule, perhaps some trinket. What he saw instead made him freeze. A girl sat there, chains around her wrists and ankles. Her skin was faintly silver, glowing under the dim lantern light, and her long hair shimmered as if woven with starlight. Her eyes, when they lifted to his, were not human at all, violet and unblinking, full of a quiet defiance. "She's alien," the innkeeper whispered. "A slave. Found her in the wreckage of a crashed ship. She'll serve you well enough." Daniel's stomach twisted. Slavery was outlawed in every human colony he knew. Yet here she was, shackled and silent, treated as barter. He had a choice: walk away unpaid or take this stranger. "Unlock her," Daniel said finally. The innkeeper blinked. "But now..." Grumbling, the man fetched the key. The girl did not resist as the chains clattered the floor. She rose with quiet dignity. Though Daniel could see she was weak, her ankles rubbed raw. He placed his coat over her shoulders, ignoring the stares of the other patrons, and guided her out into the night. They walked in silence for a long while until the inn's glow faded behind them. Finally, Daniel stopped. "What's your name?" he asked. The alien girl studied him warily. Her voice, when it came, was soft and melodic. "Lira." "I don't keep slaves," Daniel said firmly. "You're free to go where you wish." Her eyes flickered with something: relief? Fear? She shook her head. "I cannot. Not yet." "Why not?" She hesitated. "Because they will come for me. If I am alone, I will be taken again. You are safer than them." Daniel sighed. He had little food, little money, and now a companion whose origins would draw dangerous attention. Yet he couldn't abandon her. "Then you stay with me," he said, "but as an equal, not a slave." For the first time, her lips curved into a faint smile. The days that followed were not easy. Daniel worked as a caravan guard, and Lira traveled beside him. She spoke little, watching everything with quiet intensity, but she learned quickly how to tend a fire, how to ride a horse, how to blend in among humans despite her otherworldly aura. People stared at her, some with fascination, others with suspicion, but Daniel stood between her and their questions. One night, as they camped under a cold sky, Daniel finally asked, "Where are you from?" Lyra's gaze drifted upward, toward the stars. "A world far beyond this one. I should not be here." "Why were you enslaved?" Her voice trembled. "My vessel was ambushed. I was taken before I could call for aid. They did not know who I was." "Who are you, then?" She hesitated, as if deciding whether to trust him. Then, slowly, she said, "I am not just anyone. I am the daughter of my people's ruler, a princess." Daniel stared. He thought she was jesting, but the way she held herself, the weight in her words, it was truth. A princess, bartered away like a sack of grain. "Does anyone know you're here?" he asked. "They will search," she whispered. "My family will never abandon me. But until they find me, I must survive." Daniel rubbed a hand over his face. This was far more dangerous than he had imagined. If word spread, every bounty hunter in the sector would be hunting her, hoping to sell her back for a fortune, or worse, ransom her. "You can't tell anyone," he said firmly. "I have not," she answered. "I trust only you." That trust changed everything. Daniel found himself watching over her more fiercely than before, guarding her with a care he had never shown anyone. And slowly, Lira began to open up. She laughed at his dry humor, learned human songs by the fire, and asked endless questions about Earth, its oceans, its forests, its countless peoples. But danger was never far. One evening, while traveling through a border town, Daniel noticed men following them, hard-eyed mercenaries with strange devices hidden beneath their cloaks. Lira sensed it too. Her hand tightened on his sleeve. "They know," she whispered. Daniel pulled her into an alley. "Stay behind me." The mercenaries closed in. "Hand her over," their leader sneered. We know what she is. Do it, and we'll let you live. Daniel drew his blade. You'll have to go through me. The fight was brutal. Daniel moved with trained precision, parrying strikes, knocking one man into a wall, disarming another. But there were too many. A blade grazed his arm. Another smashed against his ribs. Just as he faltered, a brilliant light erupted beside him. Lira had raised her hands, and from her palms burst a surge of radiant energy that sent the mercenaries sprawling. They scrambled to their feet and fled, shouting curses, too terrified to face her again. Breathing hard, Daniel turned to her. You never said you could do that. Her violet eyes glowed faintly. It is forbidden, but I would not let them take you. He realized then that she wasn't just a princess. She was powerful in ways he barely understood, and she had chosen to protect him. After that night, they moved carefully, avoiding crowded towns, traveling under covered darkness when they could. Daniel's injuries healed slowly, and Lira tended them with surprising tenderness. Sometimes he caught her looking at him with a strange softness, as if she saw more in him than just a wandering soldier. Weeks passed. The bond between them deepened, unspoken but undeniable. Then one dawn, as they crossed a barren plain, the sky tore open. A massive ship descended, sleek in silver, bearing the crest Lira had described from her homeworld. She froze. My people. Figures emerged, tall and regal, armored in luminous suits. At their head was a woman who bore the same violet eyes as Lira, older, sterner, but filled with unmistakable relief. Daughter, the woman cried. We found you at last. Lira ran into her embrace, tears shining in her eyes. Daniel stood back, suddenly out of place, his heart twisting. He had known this day would come. She wasn't his to keep. She belonged to a world of power and splendor beyond his reach. But before the princess boarded the ship, she turned back. She walked to Daniel, standing tall despite the tears on her cheeks. You saved me, she said softly. You gave me freedom when I had none. I will never forget. He tried to smile. You don't owe me anything, Lira. Go home. Be who you're meant to be. She shook her head. I choose who I am, and I choose this. To his shock, she reached out, taking his hand before her people, before the entire royal guard. If I return, it will not be alone. I will not leave behind the one who gave me back my dignity. Gasps rippled through the aliens, but her mother regarded Daniel with measuring eyes. Finally, she inclined her head. If this is your will, daughter, then so it shall be. Daniel could hardly breathe. He had expected to lose her, to watch her vanish into the stars. Instead, she was pulling him into her world, binding their fates together. The ship's ram closed behind them, lifting them into the heavens. Daniel looked at Lira, her fingers still entwined with his, and for the first time since the day he'd stepped into that inn, he allowed himself to believe. He hadn't just accepted an alien slave as payment. He had saved a princess. And somehow, against all odds, she had chosen him.